Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all my Winged Dragon of Ra Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for post-Rage of Ra. This is the latest in Egyptian Gods support we received in the latest Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist pack. It's a really awesome deck, giving a bunch of new support to fully utilize the playstyle of the Winged Dragon of Ra used by Merrick Ishtar in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. It even goes off of all the different playstyles that Merrick used, including his love of Monster Reborn. I honestly believed he used that card at least 3 times during the entire duel, all 3 different copies that he played in his deck as well. So the overall playstyle is to obviously summon out Winged Dragon of Ra, and now with the additional spell cards and traps we've received, along with all the other different monsters, easier to make it summonable onto the field and also utilize all the effects that were originally taken from this card. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the monsters, we're running 3 Winged Dragon of Ra. It cannot be special summoned, and it requires 3 tributes to normal summon. It cannot be normal set, and this card's normal summon cannot be negated, and when it's normal summon, other cards and effects cannot be activated. And when this card is normal summon, you can pay life points that you only have 100 left, and then this card gains attack and defense equal to the amount of life points, and you can pay 1,000 life points to target 1 monster on the field and destroy that target. So with this, you have the potential to have an immensely attack point boosted monster on the field. And like I said, Winged Dragon of Ra definitely was hit the most of all the different Egyptian god cards, with its different effects not being able to, summon it and then make that in Phoenix mode. It has its own individual card for, Immortal Phoenix, and then also the different forms, Sphere mode being a separate card altogether as well. But all these cards lead up to setting up for this card and the different play styles you can do with all the different support we now have for the Winged Dragon of Ra. So you definitely want 3 copies of it, so it's just that much easier to get access to this card as well. For the added backup support, I also run 3 the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode. With this one, it cannot be special summon. It requires 3 tributes from either side of the field to normal summon to the side of the field, and it cannot be normal set. Then you shift control of this card's owner during the end phase of the rest of next turn, basically, and it cannot attack. And your opponent cannot target this card for attacks or card effects. And you contribute this card to special summon 1 Winged Dragon of Ra from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. And if you do, its attack and defense become 4,000. So with Sphere mode being a very dangerous card for your opponent to play against, basically having to play with the, play style that they'll either have to have this card eventually end up on their field after their different tributes, or rely on, using it for a resource after you give it to your opponent. If not, it's going to go onto your field, and then you'll be able to summon out your Winged Dragon of Ra by tributing this card. So 3 of this means that if you at least open this card up, you make your opponent, tread very carefully when playing against them, because they could potentially just be setting up your own plays for you depending on how many monsters they summon out. And then for the rest of the Winged Dragon of Ra forms, I run the 1 Winged Dragon Immortal Phoenix. It cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned by its own effect. If the Winged Dragon of Ra is sent from the field to your graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, you special summon this card, and its effects cannot be activated in response to this card's summon. This card is unaffected by other card effects, and you can pay 1,000 life points to destroy 1 monster on the field, and then in the graveyard for that effect. Once per turn during the end phase, send this card to the graveyard, then special summon 1 Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode from your hand, deck, or graveyard, ignoring these summoning conditions. So with this, you basically are completing the circle with Winged Dragon of Ra going into Immortal Phoenix from Sphere mode, going into Ra, and then back to Sphere mode from Immortal Phoenix, having all the different forms of Ra at your command. And the fact that Immortal Phoenix has 4,000 attack points makes it that much more scarier on the field for your opponent to take care of, and just being another boss monster to destroy resources. But you only need the 1 once it's set up in your graveyard. You can just potentially summon it back onto the field every time Ra is sent to the graveyard. And I also run the 3 Ra's Disciple. When this card is summoned, you can special summon up to 2 Ra's Disciple from your hand or deck. It cannot be tributed except for tribute summon of Slifer, Obelisk, or Ra. And you cannot special summon monsters except by the effect of Ra's Disciple. So with this card and one of the new spells we received for the Winged Dragon of Ra, it's just that much easier to summon the card out onto the field. So running Ra's Disciple is just my preferred choice in the deck, because then we have the purest mode of all the different support, not having to rely on any other together additional cards and focusing solely on the, Divine Winged Dragon of Ra support we have for all of the decks set up. So 3 Ra's Disciple was in the deck from the beginning, and I still enjoy that we can play style it with all the different cards for its setup. For some of the newer cards in the deck, I want to run 3 Guardian Slime. With this one, if you take battle damage or effect damage, you can special summon this card from your hand. During damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster quick effect, you can make this card gain defense equal to that monster's attack during the damage calculation only. And if this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the card Winged Dragon of Ra in its text. You can only use each effect of Guardian Slime once per turn. So that search power is great, but being the fact that it is a make on the Jam Defender card, it's meant to basically protect yourself from your opponent until you can get your Winged Dragon of Ra set up on the field. I know if not everyone has access to the Guardian Slimes, so if you have Jurigato, it came out in the Duels pack along with it. It can just be another special summon option for defense against your opponent during the battle phase until you get the rest of your Guardian Slimes to use. But this is a very, very good card because of the fact it is also a level 10 option to use for some extra deck plays if you can't rely solely on the Winged Dragon of Ra, and you do have to rely on some of your extra deck for some summons. And another card going off of the Jam Breeding Machine, I run 3 Reactor Slime. During your main phase, you can activate this effect to special summon 2 Slime tokens, both being 500 attack and defense. Also, you cannot normal or special summon for the rest of the turn, except for Divine Beast monsters. During the battle phase quick effect, you contribute this card to set 1 Metal Reflect Slime from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and it can be activated this turn. You can only use each effect of Reactor Slime once per turn. So the reason we want to go for the Reflect Slime is because it's a way to summon out Egyptian God Slime, which we'll get to when we go over the extra deck. But Reactor Slime gives you your tributes, just like Ra's Disciple. So whether you open up Reactor Slime or Ra's Disciple, you have your 3 monsters to go for with those cards for the tribute summon of your Winged Dragon of Ra. I really do like that they also played off of Strings monsters to summon out Slifer, but more for the fact that Merrick also used this card as tributes for his God card on the field. And lastly, for the monsters, I just run the 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I just want a hand trap option to have protection against some of my opponent's cards if they go first during their turn. And I preferred Ash Blossom. If you have Effect Failures or prefer Ghost Ogre, it can be another spot as well. Even Phantasme, DD Crow. This is just the hand trap spot in the deck lineup. But that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I want to run 3 Ancient Chants. For those that don't have Ancient Chants, you can run the True Name as a backup until you get these copies. With this card, it is your search power and summon power for the Winged Dragon of Ra. You add 1 Winged Dragon of Ra from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And if you do, you can tribute summon 1 monster during your main phase this turn in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard if you tribute summon the Winged Dragon of Ra this turn. Its original attack and defense become the original attack and defense of the monsters tributed for its summon, and you can only activate 1 Ancient Chant per turn. So giving that additional attack power with your cards makes it very beneficial when you use Ra's Disciple. For the 3 Ra's Disciple, we'll give it 3,300 attack total off of this card, and the search power and the additional normal summon is basically the double summon for this card in the deck to use, so you can search it, have your resources set up, and then tribute out your God card onto the field. And I also have 2 Blaze Cannon in the deck. Now, I would potentially want to run 1 Blaze Cannon and 1 Millennium Revelation, because Millennium Revelation focuses on the Monster Reborn play to basically set up Monster Reborn so you can activate it to summon Ra back onto the field, ignoring its summoning conditions. So with that, you'll want to run 1 Millennium Revelation and 1 Blaze Cannon. With Blaze Cannon, it's also treated as a Blaze Accelerator card for some reason, but this card is unaffected by your opponent's card effects, giving Ra all of these effects of your choice with this card, and this card's effects cannot be negated. When an attack is declared involving this card, you contribute any number of other monsters that did not declare an attack this turn. This card gains attack equal to the tributed monsters' combined original attack until the end of the turn. And after damage calculation, if this card attack, you can send all monsters your opponent controls to the graveyard. So it's basically the Winged Dragon of Ra's main attack, destroying your opponent's cards, building up attack power, whichever choice you have. This is what basically Merrick had at his disposal, using this immensely powerful card with all these different, effects under its arsenal. So this is just another great way to boost up our monsters' effects, being the fact that it's also searchable with a good number of cards in the deck also. And for the extra protection of our level 10 monsters, I also run 2 Mound the Bound Creators. Level 10 or higher monsters on the field cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. If a level 10 or higher monster destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, the player who controls the destroyed monster takes 1,000 damage. And when this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 divine monster from your deck to your hand. More search power for Hurrah if your opponent does try to get rid of this card when they're trying to get around some other pesky cards, including your Guardian Slime, which is a level 10 monster. So if they, can't use their effects to destroy it, they'll hit this first, but that will give you your search for your, main boss monster to begin with. And I also run the 1 Terraforming. There's no direct search with Mound the Bound Creator, not Bound the Mound Creator, but with Terraforming, it's just more search power and thinning of the deck for more important cards for you to draw into as well. And for some of the other one-ofs, I run the 1 Foolish Burial. This is to set up Immortal Phoenix in the graveyard for your special summon play after Ra is sent to the graveyard. The 1 Monster Reborn for more special summoning when you can use Millennium Revelation. 1 Call by the Grave, and 1 Harpy's Feather Duster to finish off the one-ofs, stopping your opponent's monster plays. Still like the 1 Call by the Grave tech setup, and the Harpy's Feather Duster. Clearing your opponent's back row can be a big problem when you're trying to get out your boss monsters, so you want the whole stage set up. So Harpy's Feather Duster being fresh off the ban list is just a great way to clear out those cards and then go for your summon. And lastly, for the spells, I run 2 Pot of Avarice. Now, the recycle power, if you have, the multiple Raws to summon out onto the field, you need the monster resources to summon them out as well. And if they're all destroyed, you want more and more options to special summon them. So being able to recycle cards like Ra's Disciple or your Guardian Slime or Reactor Slime, giving you more monsters to use and draw power off of this card, makes it a very valid card to run with all the testing I've done also. And that's it for the spells. We'll now move on to the traps. I run 2 Sun God Unification. If you control a monster whose original name is the Winged Dragon of Ra, you can activate this effect this turn. It was set during the main phase. You can pay life points so that you only have 100 left. To special summon 1 Winged Dragon of Ra, you control gains attack and defense equal to the amount of life points, even if this card leaves the field. And once per turn, you contribute 1 Winged Dragon of Ra to gain life points equal to the attack on the field. You cannot activate both of this card's effects in the same chain. So it says in the same chain, but you can still use them during the same turn. So after you have attacked with Ra, if you want to regain some life points for a little bit of safety, this card definitely does come in handy for that setup, and then being able to rely on paying life points again to boost Ra up when you summon it again next turn. And I also run 2 of the Metal Reflect Slime. This is for Egyptian God Slime, being a great defense card as well. Since it is a level 10 monster, you can protect it with Mound the Bound Creator, and then your opponent will either have to destroy that field spell or come up with a monster that is stronger than your 3,000 defense to get over this card. But most of the time, once you have this card set up on the field, you're going to tribute it for Egyptian God Slime, and then have that monster to rely on for your tribute summons and also defense of Winged Dragon of Ra. And I also run the 3 Back to the Front. This is in here for more special summoning resources. You can't summon Ra off of this card, but you can get plenty of other cards to special summon onto the field for you to make use of. So just getting those resources back onto the field makes it all the better, even if you shuffle back only a few of the, Ra's Disciples, and then special summon the other one with Back to the Front. You can then use the freshly shuffled Ra's Disciples from Pot of Avarice back into the deck to summon them onto the field, giving you those monsters for your tribute again also. And that is it for the main deck. We will now move on to the extra deck. Our main go-to fusion is Egyptian God Slime. You need 1 Aqua monster and 1 level 10 monster to make this if you were to fusion summon it normally. It must either be fusion summon or special summon from your extra deck by tributing 1 level 10 Aqua monster with 0 attack. This card can be treated as 1 or 3 tributes for the tribute summon of a monster. It cannot be destroyed by battle. Your opponent's monsters cannot target attacks that you control, except for Egyptian God Slime. So being your protection card on the field, if you have your Winged Dragon of Ra on the field for the main setup of your offense, you can use Egyptian God Slime for your defensive plays, being that much easier to summon out because you can use your Metal Reflect Slime or your Guardian Slime to summon this card out onto the field. That much easier having all these resources available to get this card out on the field. And once it's summoned out this way, you can special summon it back onto the field using your other traps we spoke of also, even Monster Reborn being the, take on Revival Jam for this deck also. And as now we'll move on to the rest of the extra deck, being the 1 Super Dreadnought Gustav Max, the 1 number 81, and the Sky Palace Gongar Die, all rank 10 monsters that you can summon out for if you need the plays with all the different level 10 monsters we run. Overlaying them for some other boss monsters is always a good option, especially ones that can do burn damage against your opponent. For the Link monsters, I run the 1 Hippo Shenengan, the 1 Underclock Taker, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, the 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Barricade Board Blocker, 1 Cross Sheep, 1 Triple Burst Dragon, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Borreload Dragon, and the 1 Access Code Talker. You don't really go into the extra deck that often, but I always like to have the option available if you were in need of it. And then as for your go-to plays, if you have the Ra's Disciple and the Ancient Chant spell in your hand, that is your go-to summon of Winged Dragon of Ra right then and there, having the 3 additional cards in your hand, depending on what they are, for more other play setups. So if you summon out Ra's Disciple, then you can gain the additional summons of your 2 other Ra's Disciples. Then you can activate Ancient Chant to add 1 Winged Dragon of Ra from your deck to your hand. And then you can tribute summon 1 monster during your main phase this turn in addition to your normal summon. So you can tribute the 3 Ra's Disciple and get out your Winged Dragon of Ra right then and there with just using the 2 cards for your plays to set up. The other one being the setup for your Guardian Slime, whether it be off of just battle damage you took from your opponent, summoning this card out, and then relying on it to tribute it to get your Egyptian God Slime out on the field just by tributing this card, since it has the 0 attack. And then using the tribute of your Egyptian God Slime, it can be counted as 3 tributes to tribute summon out your Winged Dragon of Ra as well. Using the total tribute power is very, very useful as well when you summon it out, because then you can summon out Egyptian God Slime from the graveyard using any of your other spell options as well in the deck. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. This takes care of all the decks from the Rage of Ra booster pack. Definitely a lot faster than some of the other Duelist packs when they released, but I had a lot of fun putting all of them together, and I hope you all enjoyed as well. Maybe someday down the road we'll get some more, Slifer and Obelisk support for independent decks for both of those as well. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.